Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 5 of Drawing About the G-Men Giants Football Podcast. I'm Jace, and I'm joined, like always, by Sean and Joe. Let's get right down into it. Week 4, big win. 2 straight wins for Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. 24-3 win at home versus the Redskins. I mean, it's great. Yeah, 2 in a row. But the quality of competition, the Bucks, and now the Redskins, I sense some false hope. Like, I do have hope. I do feel good. I feel good that we are winning games, and Daniel Jones looks great. But I feel like there is... Like, these aren't the best teams. These aren't the Patriots. These aren't the Cowboys. These aren't the Saints. Like, these aren't Super Bowl contender teams that we're beating.
Yeah, obviously the Redskins were beaten up all over. A lot of players on offense were missing. A couple of linemen. Terry McLaurin was out. So they were definitely banged up, which helped us out. But I think that you have to beat who's on your schedule. You have to go out and beat who's on your schedule. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, winning 2 in a row was a big step forward after starting the season 0-2. I think that the offense looked really good. Daniel Jones, aside from the 2 interceptions, which are just rookie mistakes, you could put them behind you. One was just a bad throw. One, he didn't see the safety who broke the route and picked up the ball. But he looked better. Noticing the pass rush, the pressure that was coming, evading, getting out of the pocket, and stepping up in the pocket when it came from the tackles. So he looked solid, I think, in his second start, noticing the pressure a little bit more. Wayne Gallman had a great game, running for 63 yards, had 6 catches for 55 yards, a touchdown on the ground and reception touchdown. And it was his first career 100-yard scrimmage game. He got a lot of opportunities in 2017 when Paul Perkins went down. He became the starting running back. But so I think that it's good to see that he got his first 100-yard scrimmage game, because it obviously showed that the O-line has improved a lot over the past couple of years. And I think it was a great performance for the offense, and obviously the defense looked good as well.
This defense has been getting disrespected from the word go.
Yeah. And
I said this defense was terrible. This defense has gone 6 quarters now without allowing a touchdown. They look good. They just look good. They played really well. Redskins players credited with 85 tackles. The Giants 59. When we talked about why Eli Manning got benched a couple weeks ago, I explained it that he couldn't keep this team on the field. Time of possession 36:01 to 23:59. Daniel Jones keeps them on the field. He keeps the ball moving. The less time this defense is on the field, especially after they make a stop, if they can sit and have a 4, 5, 6 minute drive, it does wonders for this defense. So I like what's going on right now. I think Pat Shurmur is doing a better job. I think the play calling has gotten better, and I think here's the crazy thing. After the Giants game, if you watched in the post, the locker room, Jabril Peppers got the game ball and everything. The Giants, to me, sound like a team that actually believes in itself. And I think if we learn anything this week, it's that, the Giants beat the Bucks, but the Bucks are terrible. But the Rams are awesome, and the Bucks crushed the Rams. So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, suddenly I'm not sure about a lot of things. I'm not sure how good Dallas is anymore. The idea that Saquon Barkley hasn't necessarily been ruled out for this week, was on the field. You guys see the footage earlier today, making cuts. Probably not going to play this week, and Gallman did such a great job, but he's really looking at maybe next week and the New England Patriots as a game where he might return. I think this Giants team is better than we thought it was going to be. I got on you, Sean, for something that I thought you said that was stupid. You said basically this team just, the defense, the young guys needed to click. And I asked you if you really thought they were that close. And you kind of backed off it a little bit. You should have stayed on me or you'd get a full apology here.
Well,
but you were right. These guys are good, and they are going to take, I can't remember what year it was where the Giants gave up.
2015. They were the worst defense in the league.
Right? So you can turn things around. I think these guys are starting to get their feet under them, and I think in an NFL where nobody's truly dominant, maybe outside of the Patriots, I think it's anybody's game.
Yeah, and that was my point about the defense. I just want to touch on this real quick. That it's just that they have so much, or pretty much no experience on the defense. I have a bunch of first and second year starters out there. Pretty much half of their defense is rookies or second year players. So I think just week by week they'll get better and better. Obviously, you said only allowing 6 points in the last 6 quarters, and then touching on the offense, you said Pat Shurmur's doing a better job. I saw a stat; they're the only team in the NFL right now to score on all their opening drives, field goal or touchdown. So they've been starting.
That is so not a Giants thing.
No.
To score on that opening drive.
No,
I feel like they'd gone years and years without doing it.
Especially the past couple of years. And then you mentioned the just them staying on the field with Daniel Jones. They've been tremendously better on third down conversions. Red zone, they've been a lot better. Daniel Jones had 3 third down conversions with his legs this week he picked up. So that's obviously a lot of sign for hope. Like you said, Jace, not the best competition the past 2 weeks, but you got to beat who's on your schedule. And I think we have a good chance to go in and beat the Vikings this week if everyone plays right.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second, but I do think with these past 2 games there's a lot of hope on this defense that I think is not going to keep up. Janoris Jenkins, he had to have listened to the podcast and hear you slam him.
I called him straight out. He responded with a defensive player of the week kind of week. So I'm great to have Jack Rabbit back because they need him.
Yeah. 2 picks, and then even on the Ryan Conley pick, that he tipped that ball to him. But the thing is, I mean, the Redskins are an atrocious offense. We saw it in the Bears game, and then when Dwayne Haskins just got thrust into this game, it didn't feel right. I mean, it was just a mess for him and the Redskins as a whole. So I don't want to put too much on the Giants defense as being this good, but I do think there is hope, but I
was watching ESPN. One of those idiots was saying, I hope Giants fans are feeling a lot better than the way they reacted initially to Daniel Jones. Where did we get that idea from? Where do we get the idea Daniel Jones wasn't going to be very good? From those clowns. Now they want to turn around and blame the Giants fans for it. No, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
That's cowardice.
I agree.
All right, and let's... I spoke about Ryan Conley getting the interception. He's been playing so good.
Dude, that one
bummer.
hurt.
But now, torn ACL, out for the remainder of the season. I mean, this linebacker core just keeps taking hits. Both Alec Ogletree and Tay Davis did not play Sunday from the injuries they suffered against the Bucs. The Giants ended up moving Josiah Tufea. I don't know how to. I'm sorry if I butchered that last name, but moving him up from the practice squad, claiming Chris Pierce off waivers from the Chargers. But offensively, with the injury, offensively we're all set. Offensively, it looks great for the Giants. Daniel Jones obviously looking really good, and then Saquon. We mentioned the video of Saquon Barkley looking like he's going to come back very soon. This week we got Golden Tate back from his suspension. But with all that being said, and bringing up the linebackers, you had to make a couple cuts. So Benny Fowler and TJ Jones got released. Well, I mean, they were playing really well, but now that we got Golden Tate, now that the Giants got Golden Tate, I'm excited to see what they can do with that. Now let's talk about this next upcoming week. The Vikings, I think this is a favorable matchup for the Vikings, especially looking at the Vikings defense. They've given up just under 200 yards passing. They've allowed less than 100 yards rushing. So their run defense is solid. Passing defense is not that good. So, and we don't have Saquon, and the Giants don't have Saquon. So it's obviously going to be more a Daniel Jones show, lighten it up, and I think that's favorable for them. And also with the Vikings, they've gone to this solid run-oriented offense with Dalvin Cook, and Kirk Cousins is not playing well. And if I'm the Giants, big three, if I'm Hill, if I'm Lawrence, and I'm Tomlinson, as defensive linemen, and you see a team that loves to run, I'm licking my chops, because the run stuffs are going to be coming up the wazoo. So I think this is a favorable matchup for the Giants, and even though the Vikings are a pretty tough team.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. Vikings coming off a rough week against the Bears defense. Obviously, that's nowhere near the Giants defense. They're top 2 defense in the league. But still, the Vikings offense has been struggling. They like to run the ball a lot, and which for us, with the inside linebacker position being so beaten up right now, we don't know if Tay Davis or Ogletree will play this week. Connolly obviously out for the season. Luckily, David Mayo actually played a pretty good game, had 8 tackles against the Redskins. But I think that the Vikings are just going to continue to look at what they've done this season. They're going to try and pound the ball right up the middle all game, I think. And I think, the 3 guys you said, the big the big men in the middle, Lawrence, Tomlinson, and Hill, all have to be huge this week against the run. Tomlinson had a pretty good game this week too, getting after the quarterback and in the run. So I think that they definitely have to be ready for this game. The Vikings running attack and the passing attack as well. Even though they haven't been passing as much, they still have 2 very good receivers in Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. So I don't think we should just fall asleep on that just yet, just because they still have the ability. Obviously, they haven't been passing as much, but just to keep an eye on that, because they have 2 very good receivers that can get it done.
I think this Giants defense is riding high, and Kirk Cousins, to me, is an all-time bum. He's just one of those guys that finds a way to blow games, especially games where he should win. 5.5 point favor going into this one. I feel like this is the kind of game where they are obviously going to want to pound the ball, and the Giants are maybe a little bit vulnerable to that. But I think the way this defense is played, I think when you look at the turnovers this week, finally making some things happen, I think Kirk Cousins is ripe for the pickings, and I think Daniel Jones... it's funny. I heard somebody talking about it. If Eli Manning would have thrown a couple of picks against the Skins this past week in a 24-3 win, it would have been start the rookie. Jones throws a couple of picks, and it's like, it's good for his development. He learned some things on those throws. So, this is what I was saying. Again, I want to be clear that I'm not actively rooting against the Giants to not win football games. That's an insane thing. And I've had more than a couple people ask me if that's the case. Like, I'm watching the Giants game and I'm rooting for the other team. That's not what I meant. That's not my mindset at all. I'm excited. I'm throwing the first down hand gestures. I'm all in. And again, my whole thing is now I'm starting to wonder, this league, you look at a team like the Eagles are obviously not a very good football team this year. The Rams aren't as good as we thought. Dallas probably isn't as good as they thought. So I think as the league starts to develop what this 2019 dynamic is going to look like, I really do think it opens up opportunities for the Giants to, I hate to say it, there's a 3.3% chance that the New York Giants make the postseason. Got to feel good about that.
Yeah, I mean, we are going into the second quarter of the season. Sad to see it get moving so quickly. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, this is teams we thought were good end up being bad, and it all just is going to end up coming down to who can make that postseason run at the end. And you never know. And it will be interesting. Speaking of around the league, let's go on to picks. Week 4, Joe, not do too well.
Let me tell you something. I thought I knew the NFL. And the NFL let me down. This wasn't me being wrong about them. This was them being wrong about themselves.
Okay.
I feel good about the picks that I made. I also had one of the all-time worst ever weeks of fantasy football in history. I scored 65 points this week. It was an all-time bad, but I'm going to right the ship this week. Don't you worry about it.
All right. Joe, you had a 5-10 week last week. Both me and Sean, 8-7. Our total pick records, I take the lead, 40, 22-1. Joe, 2 games behind, 38, 24-1.
I'll make it up this week. Don't you worry about it.
And then Sean, a total of 6 games behind, 34, 28-1.
Comeback is real.
All right, yeah. Well, still a lot of football to be played, so you never know.
For sure.
Let's start off with the Giants. I think the Giants are going to get the dub at home against the Vikings.
I agree with you on this one. I have the Giants winning the upset right now. But I think that Golden Tate coming back for this offense will add a little spark. It's not even like they need a spark right now. They're the 6th best offense in the NFL as of right now. But I think that it will get the passing game going a little bit more. So I think that, they have a big week. I think that the defense steps up again. Maybe holds the Vikings to 21 or 24 points, a little bit low scoring. So I think that it's a close game. It goes down to the end, and I think that Giants win by a field goal late.
I think maybe the Giants aren't as good as we want them to be. I think being a little thin at linebacker could potentially hurt them. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that they're underdogs at home. I'm going to go with the Vikings in the victory.
Okay.
Hate to do it.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I'll be rooting for a win. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, trying to get the above 500 for the first time since 2016.
All right, and then Thursday night football tomorrow night. The Rams coming off a bad loss to the Bucks. Go to Seattle. Tough place to play. I'm taking the Seahawks to get it done and the Rams to go on a 2-loss skid.
I have the Rams winning in this one. I think that both teams came off rough games. Well, actually, no, not the Seahawks. But Rams coming off a tough loss going into Seattle. Obviously, Seattle rarely loses at home, but they showed us already this season a backup quarterback went in there and beat them at home. Yeah. So maybe a little bit vulnerable there. And I think that the Rams, people are just too many people are just throwing them in the trash after a game against the Buccaneers. Buccaneers still have some good playmakers on offense. Sometimes it's a week by week league. Sometimes the Bucs will be scoring 55. The next week they're scoring 10. But I think that the Rams are a little bit pissed off, and I think they come into Thursday night and beat the Seahawks.
The 12th man ain't having it in Seattle. There's no way. The Rams, I really don't think are a good team. I watched a lot of that game. Jared Goff's been pretty horrible since week 13 of last year, and I think the decline continues. I was never sold on him as a very good quarterback. I still don't think Wentz is that great of a quarterback either, but that's for another segment. I'm going to take the Seahawks in the bounce-back win. Russell Wilson's going to have a huge week.
Okay.
Ride it high, baby.
All right, we shall see. Then the Cardinals go to Cincinnati. This is the Cincinnati.
The garbage bowl.
Yeah. Cardinals, sadly, their owner just passed away. Breaking news. So they got something to play for. The Bengals are playing for a number 1 overall pick. So the Cardinals will get it done on the road.
This one was tough for me just because they're both so terrible that I really just didn't know which direction to go. Originally, I had picked the Bengals just because I was just going to go with the home team. But after what you had just mentioned, I saw that earlier today. They are playing for something. I think that Kyler Murray is having a decent season. He just doesn't have many weapons around him, and that defense is awful. But I think that I'm gonna agree with you on this one now. I'm going to switch, and I'm going to pick the Cardinals in this one.
I don't think the Bengals are an 0-5 kind of team. I think nothing's gone right for the Cardinals, including their owner. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
But I think the misery continues right on through the weekend. I will be taking them Cincinnati Bengals to get their first win of the season at home.
All right. Okay. Then the Bills go to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Titans are very good on the road, not good at home. And the Bills have looked really good even in that loss to New England. I'm taking the Bills to get it done on the road.
I agree with you on this one. I'm taking the Bills on the road. That Bills defense is very good. I think maybe a top 5 defense in this league. And I don't trust Marcus Mariota to be slinging the ball all over that great secondary in this game. I think that Derrick Henry might have a decent game against that front seven. But other than that, I don't see much hope for the Titans. And the Bills offense, we don't know if Josh Allen will play or not. He's still in the concussion protocol. But even when Matt Barkley came in at the end of the game against a very good Pats defense, aside from the pick, he looked all right. So I think that he'll be able to handle and manage the game. And I think that the Bills will win in Tennessee.
I usually go against Marcus Mariota because he's like Kirk Cousins, what I consider a bum. I don't know. Just something tells me Buffalo feels like a 3-2 team. Tennessee can be deceptive. A 3-2 season for them makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm gonna actually for once go with Tennessee.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a close one.
It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
This week is a tough week. There's not a lot of easy pick'ems.
no.
Yeah.
Then the Bears go to Oakland to take on the Raiders. The Bears have struggled.
This one's in London.
They looked oh yeah, it is in London. That changes my pick a lot, actually. I'm going with the Bears. I originally had the Raiders because of that garbage field, but it is in London, so I'm going. The Bears, I just think, are a better team, so they'll get it done.
Yeah, Raiders have surprised me so far. They've looked a lot better than I had expected, but going against this Bears defense monster in the Midway, I don't expect much. They've been dominant so far this season. Just carry on from where they left off last season. And Chase Daniel, actually, when he came in against the Vikings, Mitch Trubisky's going to be out with the shoulder. So he actually looked pretty solid, managed the game pretty good, went out to beat the Vikings. So I think that the Bears win pretty handily in this London game.
I like Chase Daniel a lot. It's one of my favorite backups in football. But something tells me on the big stage in London, which is also a trash field, I got a feeling about Derek Carr and them Raiders. I think they pull off the win.
Yeah, I mean, they look good against the Colts.
That'd be Raiders 3-2.
Yeah, and it's also a revenge game for Khalil Mack, though.
Yeah, that's true.
So
there's a lot of storylines in this game, and they all favor me. I like it.
Okay, and then interdivisional play, the Bucks go to New Orleans to take on the Saints. I can't see the Bucks continuing their success from last week, especially in New Orleans. And Teddy Bridgewater is a solid QB to have as your backup. So I like the Saints in this one to get it done.
I picked against the Saints and Teddy Bridgewater the past 2 weeks, not believing in the backup quarterback, but I'm not going to do that this week against the Bucks. At the game in New Orleans, they barely lose at home. They show that against a good Cowboys team this week. So I think that the Saints will actually win pretty big over the Bucks, maybe 2 touchdowns.
I'm going to pick the Saints in this one. I was really thinking about the Bucks. I mean, they played a phenomenal game. I don't think this game. I think because I do have the Saints defense in my fantasy, and I'm a little concerned because. You said it before, though. This is the kind of league where you go 55 one week and you go 12 the next, and I got a feeling that's gonna happen for the Bucks offense. I think they got a lot of frustration out last week, but I don't see that continuing at the Superdome. Also, I think the Saints are a good team, while I think the Rams are definitely having some hangover effects from last season.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, yeah. And then the Jets go to Philly to take on the Eagles. Jets still have their quarterback troubles. The Eagles were able to pull out a big win in Lambeau last week.
Freaking Eagles.
But they're going to get it done at home against an atrocious Jets team.
Yeah, even when they've been injured, they have a couple players go down on offense, but Carson Wentz and that offense are still able to overcome it. The defense has looked decent so far, and I don't expect the Jets to do much of anything with Luke Falk. Sam Darnold has been cleared for non-contact and throwing, but I don't think that he plays this week. So I think that the Eagles win very big against the Jets at home.
The Eagles are an overrated team. Carson Wentz isn't really a very good quarterback. The defense is a little suspect. Jordan Howard, I don't expect is going to have as good a miracle week as he had the week before. I hope people understand that a big part of the reason why I'm saying this is I just like to crap on the Eagles because I do think they're going to beat the Jets this week. I just want to highlight how poor a team and a franchise in general that the Eagles are. And this isn't directed at anybody in particular. Did you get that? I said the Eagles, but reluctantly because they stink.
I like it.
I mean, you have trashed the Jets before, so yeah. All right, and then more interleague play. The Ravens go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh off their first win against the Bengals. But I don't see them getting it done against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
I'm going to go upset in this one. I think Steelers, riding high off that win against the Bengals. They were very conservative with the offense, weren't throwing the ball downfield a lot with Mason Rudolph, but he was efficient. They got the ball downfield, still have one of the better O-lines in the league. And the Ravens defense looked pretty terrible against the Browns offense, especially in that fourth quarter. I think that will be a very tight game. I was going back and forth. I had the Ravens at first, but I just feel that Steelers coming off a big win, coming home against big division rival Ravens Steelers. There's not much better rivalries in the NFL than that. So I think that they go ahead and win this game tight down the stretch.
The only thing worse than Pittsburgh is Philadelphia. That had nothing to do with anything I want to say right now. Just one more jab. So, look, I think the Ravens will definitely go in there. They'll get it done against the Steelers. It seemed like a lot of teams in the last couple of weeks have had a couple of excuse me games. You've seen a lot of that where, you got to wonder, is it an aberration or, again, some of these teams might have bigger issues than they think they do. And that's why I think if you're a Giants fan, you got to be like, Are they in the middle of the pack at this point? Are they moving up fast? They kind of are. So just some things to be excited about. But the Ravens will definitely take out the Steelers this week. And deservedly so. Pittsburgh deserves to be 1-4.
Yeah, even though when you say Steelers, I still think like the good old days of like when there was Ben Roethlisberger, even Hines Ward, and then even last year when they did have Antonio Brown, even though Le'Veon Bell sat out, they were still solid. But they've just been hurt by that.
That franchise has really gone down the tubes. The Steelers really have. Quick, it was such a classy organization, and now it's like. Yeah. Well, it's kind of trashy. I hate to say it, but I'm going to do it anyway. They're kind of trashy.
In the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And then the opposite of a trashy organization, the Patriots, they go to Washington to take on the Redskins. I don't think you have to have something wrong in your brain if you pick the Redskins here. They are home, but the Patriots are the Patriots,
Yeah. Jay Gruden came out and said that he doesn't even have a plan yet for who his QB this week is. So, I think that tells you enough about this organization of the Redskins right now. If you watch their offense against the Giants defense, I think you know that they're not going to score any points against this Patriots defense. I see the Pats winning by probably 30 in this one.
I think the Skins are going to give it a go this week. I think they're going to shake things up a little bit, They're not going to win.
Okay.
But I think there'll be some shaking, a lot of shaking on the sideline.
Might see some Colt McCoy this week.
You could see a lot of things. But yeah, I think you're definitely going to see. What did you say? They're going to win by 30?
Yeah, probably more. Honestly.
Yeah, I think they'll have 30 at the half. But yeah, it's going to be a rough week. The Redskins are, I think, one of a handful of bad teams in the NFL, along with the Dolphins, where, again, I think the Patriots are at a whole other level at this point. So
yeah. We didn't talk about it while we were recapping the game, but if you look at the rookie situation and you compare Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins, the way Daniel Jones has come in and taken over the starting quarterback has been great. But Dwayne Haskins is what I was afraid of with Daniel Jones. You know, maybe Eli getting hurt and Daniel Jones have to get thrust in there. But he had a little bit of time to develop and be prepared, have a week's worth of practice to get his first start. And we saw last week as Dwayne Haskins just got thrown to the wolves and did not survive. Then the Jaguars go to Carolina to take on the Panthers. This one's a really tough one to call. The Panthers undefeated with Kyle Allen as their QB. Should be interesting, but I just like this Gardner Minshew kid. I'm taking the Jaguars to get it done on the road.
Yeah, I've been 2-0 the past 2 weeks, picking the Jags and riding with Minshew Mania, so I can't stop that now. I'm gonna go ahead and pick Jags over Panthers in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Carolina. I think the Minshew show is going to come to a stunning halt this week. Trent Dilfer a couple days ago actually compared and suggested that Minshew is the best pure passer since Tony Romo. Yeah, I think that got a laugh from a lot of people. I don't know if Trent was just goofing or if he's just going through something right now, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, the Panthers are playing really well right now. I thought Cam Newton in the video, you saw the video he put out this week. I thought that was touching. Speaking of mental illness, whatever, he's obviously a manic depressive. I like Cam Newton. Cam Newton, I think, is his own biggest enemy. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. He's one of those people who struggles to get out of his own way, and I can't help but wonder if maybe he just doesn't need to get some professional help. And I mean that dead serious. I mean, he's obviously a very talented guy, but he just tends to get in his own way. But this week, I don't think the Jaguars have what it takes to go to Carolina and beat them Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, even when he came back, he rushed himself back after the ankle injury and couldn't be that mobile QB that we saw and that we know for Cam Newton. So, yeah, I hope he does get back to what he was in the MVP caliber because I do like Cam Newton as well.
It just goes to show if you're not a mobile quarterback, then ask Eli Manning this. Yeah. It's a hard league to be in right now. It really is. Everybody's too fast. If you can't move a little bit, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, it's a dying breed for sure.
Oh,
I mean, the only really pure pocket passers are, Drew Brees, Brady, Phillip Rivers. It was all the guys from the early 2000 drafts. And it's just, you could see that it's just turning away from that. The quarterbacks from this draft, Jones, mobile, Kyler Murray on the move. I mean, it's just the way that the NFL is going right now.
Yeah, the evolution of the sport. Then we have the Falcons at the Texans. Falcons have struggled so much, and the Texans, heartbreaking loss to the Panthers last week. They get it done at home. Texans, Deshaun Watson has to start throwing the ball to DeAndre Hopkins a lot more if they want to keep success, and I think they will this week.
Yeah, I think the Texans bounced back from a tough loss last week. The Falcons, they have so many weapons and so many good players on their team, and it just feels like every year they've just been a disappointment coming out the gate. And I think that this continues this week. I think that Falcons defenses look very poor the first couple of weeks, so I think that the Texans and Deshaun and DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller and all them, I think they throw all over the Falcons, and I think that they win probably by 2 touchdowns in this one at home.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. I will never bet on Matt Ryan again. I said it a couple weeks ago. He hasn't been right since that Super Bowl. There's something's going on there. I don't know what it is, but I know whatever it is, the Texans aren't going to have too much of a challenge on their hands. I think they will easily beat up on the Falcons, who seem troubled at this point.
Yeah, we just spoke about the evolution of the quarterback position, but I think with the Falcons, it's the evolution of the offense. They're still running the same offense that took them to the Super Bowl, which is great, but everyone's starting, they've had 2 years to look, research, and find a solution, and they've been finding that solution. So if the Falcons want to have success, they need to grow, they need to evolve, and they need to figure something else out offensively to get back to the Super Bowl, because they have the talent to do so. They just need to find what will work for them. Moving on, we have an AFC West matchup. The Broncos go to LA to take on the Chargers. I think the Chargers get done. The Broncos are not a good team. They're vying for the number 1 overall spot picks this year.
Yeah, Broncos have a tough time the first 4 weeks. They've been in close games pretty much 3 out of 4 weeks, all coming down to that final possession, and they just haven't been able to come away with the win. Sort of sounds familiar, the Giants past couple years. Yeah. But anyways, I think that the Chargers are struggling too, but I think that at home they go in and win this game, and I think it's another heartbreaker for the Broncos, unfortunately, and they move to 0-5.
Joe Flacco is a good, decent human being. And, he will wear 0-5 like a champion, because that's what Joe Flacco does. The Chargers, I just think, are a little too much for the Broncos. I don't think the Broncos are going to lose every game this year. So they're going to have to eventually start winning some football games. I just don't think it's going to be this week in Los Angeles.
Yeah, Sean, you just brought up the similarities between the Broncos. It really is, because everyone with Flacco and Eli, that was the question everyone was asking. Are they elite? And then the Broncos did also just draft their young QB. Sadly, he's hurt in Drew Lock, but I guess what the Broncos will have to do is trade away all their defensive players to start to find some success if they want to get to the Giants level.
Kudos to the Ravens, though, for cutting that guy loose when it was time. I mean, nothing like dragging your franchise down for a few more years as you wait.
I'm paying $23 million to get back with QB. Yeah,
not talking about any team in particular.
No.
I'm just saying. Sometimes when you know. Yeah, it's always good to be decisive.
Yep.
In my opinion, a big game this week. The Packers at the Cowboys. The Packers, heartbreaking loss to the Eagles. They had so much success throwing the football against the Eagles defense, but that ended up biting them in the butt, because when they got to the goal line, they kept passing, couldn't run the ball, and they just couldn't get in the end zone to win the game. But, I mean, the Cowboys also a heartbreaking loss against the Saints on the road. I'm picking the Cowboys to get it done at home.
I think this might be the best matchup of the week. Two very good teams with good defense and offense, both sides of the ball. So I think it will be a battle all the way down to the end. I think that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers pull this out late in Jerry's world, and I'm going to pick the Packers to win and Cowboys move to 3-2, and hopefully Giants will be tied up for first place after this week.
Okay.
This is one of those games where when you start to wonder how good the Cowboys are, they usually go out and win 34-17. And I think that's going to be the case this week. I think the Packers are coming off a tough loss. But I think maybe the NFC East is a little bit better than people think.
Yeah.
So I think, hang on to your hats. It's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate picking the Cowboys. I was so happy to pick against them last week. But
whenever I get a chance to pick against them, a good team, I'll take it all the time.
All right. And then Colts go to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Colts have been looking really good. Granted, they just lost to the Raiders at home, but they've still been looking pretty solid. They might not have Marlon Mack. They won't have T.Y. Hilton.
Or a chance.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's cute. Yeah. There's a lot of things they won't have. A W, that's for sure.
Yeah, the Chiefs are going to...
Is anybody not going Chiefs on this one? Let's just get right to it. Let's be honest. Yeah, that's an easy one. That's certainly an easy one. Because I'll tell you, the Monday Nighters are toughie.
Yeah.
How is that the primetime game when you got the Packers? Cowboys. That doesn't make sense for me. For a
Odell
Sunday
Beckham
game,
and Baker.
that's a little ridiculous.
Yep.
But moving on to Monday Night Football, the Browns at the 49ers. The Browns had a big win against the Ravens, but the Niners coming off a week of rest. They're at home. I'm taking them to get it done. The Browns' offensive line has struggled so much this year, and the Niners' pass rush is so good. Baker's going to be running for his life, so I'm taking the Niners to get it done.
Yeah, what you had just mentioned is a huge mismatch. The O-line has probably been one of the worst in the league so far for the Browns. But I think that the Browns carry over this win from last week, a big win. I think they build off of that. And I think that 49ers are only one of 3 teams that are still undefeated at this point. I think that ends this week and it becomes just the Chiefs and Pats. So I'm going to pick the Browns, maybe by a touchdown on this one.
Yeah, the San Francisco 49ers, there's no way they stay undefeated. The Browns have been god-awful. Odell Beckham's been rather pathetic. But I think with the spotlight shining, I think you're going to see Baker Mayfield and Odell really light it up. I think Odell's going to break a big one this week. Maybe some flashy dash he gets into the end zone. The run for the Niners is over. I think the Niners are a decent team, but the way this NFL's gone so far, I just can't see them hitting 4-0.
I mean, Odell and Baker did have a phenomenal last time they were on Monday Night Football again, but that was the Jets, not the Niners. Niners will get the front four will get to the quarterback and get to him. So the Lions and the Dolphins have a bye this week, just so everyone knows. We aren't picking for them. And
before we jump into fantasy, real quick, I only just became aware of this yesterday, maybe late afternoon. Jabril Peppers and Landon Collins got into a little scrappity dap. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think of that?
Absolutely.
A lot of bitterness. Also, Eric Flowers was talking a lot of smack about how stupid the Giants are because they want to win.
Well, he's got to shut
hates that.
He sucks.
They're too serious about winning.
Garbage.
I hate when people say stuff like that. These guys take it real serious. They want to win all the time. Yeah, well, it's a bummer.
Yeah, that's your job here in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I think that Landon Collins, like you said, just a little bitter seeing Jabril wearing his old 21 jersey at home, having the pick six, having a good game. So I think that, just a little bitterness, especially being 0-4. It's not a good taste in your mouth coming to your old stadium and that having to happen. And, I didn't like to see it because I love both players. Obviously, I love Landon for what he did for the Giants. He had nothing to do with him not being a part of the Giants at this point. So there's nothing I could hold him for. It was just not great to see. Unfortunate.
I hate to say this, but Landon Collins is dead to me. You're just like Eric Flowers and Jesse Armstead before you. Dead to me.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with Eric Flowers. Landon, though, just because he actually did contribute.
He was my favorite player.
Success. Yeah.
But that's the NFL 2019. That's how it goes.
But
later, Landon.
Yeah, I'm ready to ride the Jabril train. He had a great end of the season last year. Didn't look so great through the first 3 games, but had a big pass deflection in the back of the end zone to hold the Redskins to a field goal early in that game, and then obviously the pick six. So I'm excited for Jabril going forward and for that secondary who has looked a lot better.
Also, for anybody who's like, he had one good game finally, thinks he's the best safety in the league. Well, it does take a little time to learn a new system and to sort of incorporate yourself into a new team and a franchise and all that. So we knew Jabril Peppers was going to play playing well. I think that's the kind of level I think you're going to see him play out for the rest of the season. I think it was particularly frustrating, obviously, with Haskins playing like garbage, with Flowers playing like garbage. I think that's really what got to Landon Collins and kind of set him off. It's sad. It's sad to see. The prodigal son returns, dejected and beaten. Sad.
Well, the Redskins, to me, in the NFC East picture, they're the little brother. They get beat on, and then when they lose, they smack you or something like that. They start a fight, and that's just what happened. They got beat on. They're mad they lost, so they start a little scuffle. Yeah. But
hey, at least DRC didn't open his mouth. One former Giants on the Redskins that didn't say anything this week.
So that's all they can do. That's all they can do is talk and say stuff because they can't win football games.
That's a good analogy.
I'm sorry, one more thing. We got somebody commenting that the Eagles are the best team, quarterback, and have the best GM in the division. They're barely 2-2.
It could, easily be
barely 2-2. Calm down. The Cowboys aren't Super Bowl contenders, and the Eagles aren't the best team in the division. Win some games first. This isn't baseball where you get credit for being he's a really good one. He almost won. Give him the champion award. Now this is where wins matter. That's all that matters in the NFL. They're barely 2-2. They should be 1-3, and they got really lucky. So to call them the best team in the division, I don't know. Daniel Jones is 2-0. I'm just saying. How's Carson Wentz doing this year?
Just get off of the Super Bowl horse. You won it 2 years ago. That's great. You don't got Nick Foles there anymore.
No, you don't. You don't have a backup quarterback to lead you to a victory.
Yeah, and the team is not the same. But and Carson Wentz is not the best. You can argue right now that Daniel Jones is the best quarterback in that division. The way he's been playing the past couple.
I mean, I would say if you're watching and you're just being objective, you throw all the hype out the window. Who's the quarterback who consistently has improved week in and week out this season? It's not Carson Wentz, and is it Dak Prescott?
Yeah, Dak Prescott had that phenomenal week one against.
Yeah, where's he been
Giants,
since? I'm surprised Carson Wentz is even still playing at this point. He's usually pretty injured at this.
All right, let's talk some fantasy football. Week 4, the perfect lineup, like I like to do. Quarterback Jameis Winston against the Rams. That's a shocker to me. He had 29 points. Nick Chubb 38. Christian McCaffrey 33. Wide receivers, Chris Godwin, 41. Robert Woods, 29. Tight end, Austin Hooper, 22. Flex, Jordan Howard, 31. And then the Giants defense had 24 with those 4 picks.
There we go.
Some waiver wire pickups if you guys are looking to.
It happens to all of us is the message I got from the fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
I was 3-0 going in. I scored 65 points.
Yeah.
I may not contribute much to this segment because I clearly don't know anything about anything.
Yeah, I'm in 3 fantasy leagues, and 2 of them I'm struggling in. One I've got a little bit of hope, but fantasy's so rough.
Somebody referred to my team earlier this year as a super team. That's how good it was. 65 points last week.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a cliche kind of thing, but I mean, it really is a week-to-week league. You never know.
Yeah. For waiver wire, if you're looking for a quarterback, Matt Stafford, Jacoby Brissett, they've been solid, both averaging 18 points per game. And, I mean, with all the injuries that we've seen at quarterback so far this year, those are 2 solid guys you can pick up, put on your bench, wait for a bye week, or if there's an injury. Obviously, Wayne Gallman had a big game last week, and I think you can continue to see that from him, especially if you are in a PPR league. He's so good out of the backfield. Cole Beasley and A.J. Brown as far as wide receivers. Cole Beasley's getting a lot of targets in Buffalo, and A.J. Brown has shown that he is Marcus Mariota's favorite target this year. He's put a heck of a lot of points up on the board as far as fantasy-wise. And then Jimmy Graham, even though the Packers lost, every time they were in the red zone, 2 out of the 4 downs was to Jimmy Graham. So they obviously want to get him involved, and I think it's only a matter of time before it actually works.
Yeah, some of the big matchups I have this week. You had mentioned Jacoby Brissett. I think that he has a huge week this week going against the Chiefs. Pretty bad secondary, and it's going to be a high-scoring game. You know that the Chiefs are going to put points on the board, and you know that they score quick so that the Colts have more opportunities to get in the field. So I think that, Jacoby Brissett has a big game there. Running back, I have Chris Thompson for the Redskins. I think that they'll be trailing heavy right away too, so I don't think that Adrian Peterson will get many carries, and I think that they're just going to use Chris Thompson out of the backfield a lot. So I expect him to have high volume this week. Tyler Boyd on the Bengals had a pretty quiet week last week, but I don't expect that to carry on. They're playing the Cardinals, who have another not great secondary and not a good defense, so I think that he scores a lot of points. And then for my tight end, I'm going to take my man Evan Ingram. I think that just with Tate coming back, they have Tate and Shepard that they have the game plan for. You got Gallman that can still do it out of the backfield, so I think that Ingram, and he had a quiet week last week, so I don't expect that to carry on into this week. I think he has a huge performance against the Vikings.
Just Odell Beckham and Juju Smith-Schuster combined for 8.5 points.
That's not it.
That's murder.
Yeah.
Greg Olsen had been huge all year at tight end. I got O.J. Howard on my roster, who's been an absolute disaster. Even with 55 points last week, Jameis Winston still didn't find his way to get that ball into O.J. Howard's hands. For somebody who's supposed to be a rising fantasy star this year, he's been a disaster. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you who I'm not leaving on the bench this week is Sterling Shepard. I've made that mistake several times, and Tyler Lockett didn't have a great week last week, but he's been on my bench. If you got him on your bench, that's definitely a guy I think you got to get in there. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a big bounce back week. And I'm tempted to start Kyler Murray. I haven't done it yet this year.
Oh, you got to against the Bengals?
Yeah, I think he's going to have like a career kind of day. You know what? As a matter of fact, while we're sitting here, I'm just going to make that move right now. I'm just going to make it official. Kyler Murray in the starting lineup. But, a disaster. Very frustrating. I'll tell you that.
I mean, everyone has those weeks, you know?
Not me. Ever before. 65 points.
Well, at least it's early in the season. You can start getting going during playoff time, and then it actually matters.
I am still 3-1.
Making a QB change, you gotta
do it sometimes. Yeah. It worked for the Giants.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
Go with the Rook.
Indeed.
Some other people that I think will have a big week this week. Rex Burkhead at Washington. He's been their running back when they're ahead, just pounding the ball. So I expect him to get a lot of touches and run the clock out when they're ahead against the Redskins. Mike Williams against the Broncos. Broncos defense is still pretty solid, and I think they will do all they can to stop Keenan Allen. So I like Mike Williams having a big game as the secondary target. And then Mark Andrews versus the Steelers. Mark Andrews is the number one target for Lamar Jackson, seemingly so far this year. And he's also been one of the top fantasy productive tight ends. So if he still is available in your league, you got to pick him up as soon as possible. And then the Eagles defense against the Jets. Jets offense is atrocious with Falk. So we'll see where that goes. Thank you guys for listening to Jawing About the G-Men Giants Football Podcast. If you want to like us on Facebook. Go check out our page. If you want to follow us on Twitter, Jawing About G-Men on Twitter. Make sure you follow us there. Keep up to date about everything the Giants. And we hope to see you guys next time. Take care.